What's the difference between a good agent and a great agent to you?
Ooh. I have a very direct answer. Very direct answer. And this is very topical because we've been dealing with some of this. Now, I could be really obtuse and say time, okay, because I think most good agents have the opportunity to be great, and it tends to take a little bit more time and experience. Not every good agent becomes great. So I will say what the thing is that usually comes with that time and experience is the ability to have difficult conversations effectively. That is because, look, we are not paid for the most part in today's real estate business for being a marketer. We are primarily paid for being a negotiator. That is where we earn. That is where we carve our piece of the transaction out, right? Our involvement tends to relate to, or tends to translate to, higher sales prices for sellers, lower sales prices for buyers, based on the quality of the agent. It also tends to translate to smoother transactions and better outcomes for the client, depending on the quality of the agent. If you have a great agent working against a mediocre agent, the great agent's client tends to come out ahead in the transaction. Great to me, okay, is when you can handle really challenging situations and communicate them effectively such that your client does not lose favor or lose faith in you as the agent. So you walk away from the closing table in good grace, not, running and hiding. And you tend to get used again by that client in the future, referred to their friends and family, and you build an enormously profitable business behind kind of the way you leave people feeling at the end of the transaction. There was a quote, and I don't know who it's attributable to. I think I tried to look it up before, and it's kind of one of those internet meme type deals that I've referenced this on the show before, where it says the way you leave somebody feeling after an interaction is your trademark, right? And I think that really applies to our business. So I guess that's a long, roundabout way of saying, when you handle difficult situations effectively, you leave people feeling very good about your service, and that's what makes you great.
Yeah, cool. You said it's the ability to have difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of advice given out here at the brokerage, and me myself, you can't hold on to everything or remember everything, but there are certain ones here and there that I just don't forget. And one of the ones, I thought it was great advice. I think you gave it in a Monday meeting or maybe a Wednesday meeting, but it was when you have bad news to deliver to clients or disappointing news, you don't need to call them and sound disappointed or upset yourself or like there is a big problem. Come across like joyful and a good attitude, and it's going to make them feel a little bit better about it. And I've used that a ton, and it really, really works. It doesn't mean they're not going to be disappointed or upset, but
No.
if you come across as disappointed or upset or like you don't want to deliver this news, it is severely going to exacerbate their feelings and disappointments.
Well, it's a life lesson, right? I mean, it can be attributed to anything that you deal with. So, we were talking about my oldest son. I think I can lay all this out, and it's not saying anything bad, but he's a 7th grader right now. 7th grade is a big year, especially in Catholic schools, for your school getting much more adult-like.
Yeah.
There's a lot more responsibility. On top of that, he plays football. Football, 7th graders mixed with 8th graders. The difference between 7th and 8th is a big year, maturity-wise. I mean, there are kids on his football team that are my size. There are kids on his football team that weigh twice what he weighs, right? And he's not a small kid. I mean, he's 5'7", 110 pounds. He's skinny, he's thin, but he's a boy, and he's playing against men, and that's tough, right? Maturity wise. So I pick him up from school, not long ago. He's really just, I can tell he's got this look on his face. He's frustrated. He's tired. He started doing the thing now where he gets himself up in the morning and takes a shower, which I kind of appreciate. And it takes some responsibility, right? He's not like making me drag him out of bed to go to school. He's not complaining about getting ready in the morning. That's all cool. But you got schoolwork is hard. Football is hard. He's still training for baseball. He's got a lot of other things going on top of that. And I could just tell he was a little run down and a little frustrated. And I said, something to him, and he kind of gives me a little bit of attitude. He kind of clams up for a minute, doesn't say anything, and he's just got this scowl on his face. We're driving home, and he sits in the front with me now, which is cool. I can actually talk to him. I don't have to look in the dad look out of the rear view. So I said, "Hey, bud," I said, "I want to teach you something real quick." And of course, he's like, "Oh, okay." Here we go. And it's being 13, right? And I said, "Look, I know you're not in a good headspace right now. I know you're not loving things. I know football's probably got you frustrated because you're beating your head up against the wall and you feel like you can't get anything right. You got more schoolwork than you've ever had. You're getting less sleep. You don't have much time between school and practice. You don't have much time after practice before you got to go to bed, right? You're not seeing your friends as much. We just come from a pretty fun summer, and now it's like this reality is like a slap in the face." I said, "But what I need you to learn is that this is life, right? Life doesn't give you everything you want always. Now, I've worked really hard to give you a good life, and I had an amazing childhood, but I think I've succeeded so far in giving you a better childhood than even I had." I said, "But, the rest of the world could care less about that, okay? And things that are worth achieving are hard. And you're going to get slapped down constantly throughout your life. No matter how successful you are, you're going to have setbacks." I said, "But what is more important than having setbacks is how you handle them. Because some of the reality you cannot affect. It is what it is, right? You can't affect the fact, as we sit here, you're not as big as those 8th graders that you're playing football against. Okay? You cannot affect that now you're making the transition from the schoolwork that you could do standing on your head to stuff that takes actual work and time and effort, right? But I can promise you this, if you approach it with this scowl and this attitude and this frustration and this victim mentality, you will make it worse. Whereas if you approach it with a positive outlook, a smile, some ambition, some grit, you will absolutely make it better, right? Absolutely, positively. I mean, if you have an argument for that, please tell me. Please tell me how a positive attitude makes it worse. Please tell me how a negative attitude makes it better. If you can cite me one example, I'll back off. I said, it's your circumstances. It's not mine. I'm not doing your homework, and I'm not going to football practice for you. Okay? But, this I can do. I can help you learn this lesson because I've lived it. Okay? I've had to learn it, and I didn't like it when my dad told me the same shit when I was your age. Right? Okay? I hope you're better than I was and you take it better than I did." And so here's the cool thing. He was like, he started nodding. His body language changed. His arms fell. Started leaning forward, started nodding, kind of giving me the dog head, like, "Oh shit, he's right." And so, but that's what we're talking about with real estate agents too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, good may not know that, but great knows it. You know what I mean? I mean, I can quote Tracy French. She sold 120 houses by herself the year before she came here. I think she sold 108 the year she came to us. So less. So statistically, you could say she was better before, but she didn't know that lesson. She was getting run down by her business. And she learned some of these truths. And now, right, however many years later, she's got a team that doesn't require her to push every button, do everything, conduct every showing, right? She gets to live the life she wants to live. And she is truly great because she learned lessons like that, right? How to have those difficult conversations, right? How to do them effectively. Anyway, it's kind of an interesting lesson how it applies to everything you do.